Welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and this is Mol Liza from Join the Dark Sides. And Mol Liza is free to play and been playing for about 2 years. Now, if you look at the arena ranks and you look at the GP, total GP, you can see that Mol Liza is a casual player. So this is going to be more of a laid back, free to play casual guide. Really two things that Mol wanted looked at, and that is the Rancor, actually heroic Rancor, which is something I haven't addressed in a long time. So good review. And then territory battle teams with a free to play mentality. So the first thing we're going to tackle is Rancor, and obviously the first thing most people go for when they get Rancor is CLS. Now, if we look through, we know you don't have CLS. We do note though that you do have your R2D2 at 6 stars. So I went ahead and looked to see how your Empire was, and your Empire is good to get R2D2 to 7 stars. So as soon as your R2D2 event comes back around, you'll get your 7th star, and then you have all the other characters you need to get CLS. Once you have CLS unlocked, you want to max him, make him your #1 pet project and highest priority, because he can literally do the Rancor by himself. But you can put a couple of other good characters in with him since you're free to play, because you probably will only get him up to gear 8, 9, or 10, within the next month or so. And so because, once you get him, and so because of that, you're going to need a bit of help. And so there are some characters that you'll be able to use. For one, will be R2D2. Just like I had stated, he's going to be on the team with CLS for Rancor. And the reason for that is he can stealth the whole team, and that will force the targeting of the Rancor to the character you want the Rancor to hit versus killing some of your other squishier characters. The other two characters I would actually suggest would actually be Biston, because you have him 7 stars, so he's heroic viable. You just need to throw some mods on him and get his abilities up, but he has this gunner's tactics, and so as long as you just put as much potency as possible, he takes turn meter away equal to his potency. So if you can get his potency up to 100, which you actually can do nowadays, he will take away 100% turn meter every 4th turn. Now what's cool is he has this frenzy, which allows for any time somebody else uses a special ability for him to take another turn. And so he is basically going to get through those 4 turns really fast because of frenzy. So this is a really great character, and he's also got a great ship, so if you ever decide to use his ship, you'll use him for sure. So I would definitely focus on Biston to use, even though CLS is really the primary target. Also, Jin Urso. So what's cool about her, once you get her 7 stars, is she has this Truncheon Strike, which removes all turn meter from the enemy when they hit, and she has stacking potency. It just slowly goes up. So you don't even have to do high potency on her, because she'll continue every time she crits to increase her own potency, and she has a naturally high crit rate. So you just want to get her from 5 stars to 7 stars, which shouldn't be impossible at all. You can just look for her in the guild store and find her and get her up. But between her and Biston, they're able to take away turn meter basically every other turn. It's either her or him, and then you have CLS able to take away turn meter, and R2D2 who's able to stealth Jin Urso and Biston, because they're going to be squishier than your CLS, or at least hopefully you'll have put more effort into your CLS. And then the last character I would suggest, crazily enough, is T-Bow. Now you may be thinking, man, he's only 2 stars, why would I use him? But you can actually run him as the lead. And with his lead, everybody has a chance of gaining stealth, including himself, every time they take a turn. There's that 30% chance, but that goes up. The 30% chance goes way up. And so it's a really great opportunity to keep stealth. And what's important is with his stealth takedown, once maxed, he on his basic can remove turn meter, which is extremely valuable. So basically what you're doing is taking a bunch of characters that remove turn meter. Now, you may think T-Bow's hard to get or whatever, but he's not. He actually has has 2 nodes, but even better than that, he's in the Galactic War Store. That is the literal easiest place to get any character as fast as humanly possible. You can get like 15 shards a day minimum. Really cool that you can get them up lightning fast. And so definitely T-Bow would make the list. So I would suggest for now focusing on T-Bow, Biston, just a little bit of gear, Jyn Erso, a couple stars in gear, and then as soon as R2-D2 comes back, getting his 7th star so you can get your CLS. CLS and R2-D2, I don't know when they're coming back, but I could imagine sometime in the next within the next couple of months. And then once you have CLS in this team, you will be able to complete the heroic Rancor and get enough of Han Solo that eventually you'll have Han Solo 7 stars, and then CLS with Han Solo have enough turn meter reduction that you can just use those 2 characters to completely solo the Rancor. Now let's go ahead and move into territory battles. Okay, I'm going to start going through kind of a priority list for the territory battles with light side first. And the first thing that we're going to look at is, because I don't want to overwhelm you with light side and dark side, the light side is kind of easier to accomplish, but you've got certain teams you have to get for you to be able to compete in all of the nodes. And so the first is Phoenix. You're already pretty far, and so this is great. I would continue to take Phoenix up to Gear 9. That would be goal, and I know that they're gear hogs, but Gear 9 would be the goal for free to play to get these characters, so you can get, you know, most of the levels 4 or 5 in, you know, each of the phases, so you can try to complete as much as possible. The other thing is Zeb is kind of the critical piece in this because he's the one that dazes on his basic, and so you're going to want to have high potency on him. So put a potency cross on Zeb, and that's going to help apply daze, which will help sustain your team longer throughout the battle since they're lower gear. The second team I would suggest is actually a Rebels team, and that would be, it could be someone like Wedge and Biggs and Obi-Wan and maybe Lando Calrissian, but even Akbar. But one of the characters I would suggest would be Captain Han Solo. You have him 5-star, gear 4 or 5 right now. It looks like gear 4, 5-star gear 4. And Captain Han Solo, he dazes on his basic, and he would be a great addition to just a general vague Rebels team. And so because of that, I would highly recommend you focus on him. Really, territory battles, which is your focus, really needs characters that daze, because that's how you're going to get through more of the phases, is by not being totally ping-ponged with the characters that counter. So this would be for your general Rebels team. Captain Han Solo would be your highest priority. Next would be Rogue One, and since I've already suggested Jyn Erso and Biston for Rancor, if you actually focused on those 2, the next 3 you could use could be Chirrut, Baze, and then I would suggest Scarif Rebel Pathfinder to complete that ship, because Scarif and Biston are together on that ship, and then you would have 5 Rogue One, and you'd have the ship you needed, because Biston's ship is phenomenal in ships. And so, but if you didn't want to do Scarif Rebel Pathfinder because he's a tank and kind of hard to gear, Cassian Andor would make a phenomenal 5th, and he's got a ship as well. Cassian's ship is very powerful, and you got him 7 stars already, so you could just start gearing up Cassian. So you'll have to decide between Scarif Rebel or Cassian. It makes more sense for ships to do Scarif, but for gear, Cassian will definitely be easier. And again, I would recommend Biston and Jyn regardless. Baze and Chirrut, you can get away with it being gear 8 because they're more durable, but eventually you will want to take them higher to gear 9, even though you're free to play. And then number 4 is actually the Resistance teams. The Resistance is really, really good. You've almost got R2-D2, like I said, to 7-star. You've got Poe, you've got Finn, BB-8, and Rey Scavenger. Really, you have enough to use these 5 once they hit 7 stars in the teams, and they're going to fly through with the exposed mechanic. What you need is you need Finn's Zeta lead. So this is the first Zeta that I highly recommend that you get. It's super important, and it takes a team like this that basically isn't even competitive to being hyper competitive in the territory battles. So it's really important that you have Finn's Zeta, and then it's just as important to actually have Poe Dameron kind of fast. Like if you have any mods that have, you know, a speed set or any speed secondaries, Poe Dameron would be the one you'd want to make the fastest in this team. And then the last would be Jedi. Now, we know have a lot of Jedi already talked about, like Old Ben would be a Rebel, and Ezra and Kanan are going to be with your Phoenix, but you have Grandmaster Yoda, You've got characters such as Qui-Gon Jinn, Ahsoka Tano, Jedi Consular, and I see you're even working Hermit Yoda, which is pretty awesome. You even have Ayla Secura 7 stars, and she does stun, which is really, really cool. All you got to do is put a lot of crit chance on her. So with that said, Jedi is the last priority of all of them and kind of an optional team, but you really need to have at least 4 teams for the light side territory battles. And again, Phoenix, and then your regular Rebels, Rogue One, and then Resistance are going to kind of fall into being the most important. Now, I wanted to cover dark side territory battles as well, except I don't want to overwhelm you by giving you a lot more farming projects. So everything I've discussed up to this point for Rancor and territory battle light side is what I want you to focus on for gearing and starring. But we'll go over to dark side real quick and just give you some ideas for some teams you could use right now for territory battles dark side. So Cad Bane and IG-88 are pretty quick farms, and it would complete a bounty hunter team, which would help in that. And so once you kind of get your light side in order, you may want to come over here and start working on the at least stars. Once you star up the light side characters, you can keep gearing them, but move over to starring up your dark side characters. And Cad Bane and IG-88 at some point will not be competing with the other characters farming wise, and you'd want to get them up. And then you would have 5 free to play and relatively easy farms and gears for bounty hunter team. Of course, your strongest faction is going to come out of Empire, and what's really cool is you have almost 10 characters 7-star, which means that you'd be able to use them throughout the entire territory battle from start to finish, and you have a decent start on a couple of the Imperial Troopers. And so really, you would have an Empire team, and then you would also have an Imperial Trooper team. So there's a couple of characters such as Snow Trooper that you'd want to finish off getting to 7 stars, and then same thing with Colonel Stark. And then you'd want to, after you do those stars, you'd want to gear them up. And so Empire you could use now, but you would also want to look at the Imperial Troopers. Best team you have on dark side really is actually your First Order. You've got your whole top row. I would use everyone in the top row minus Captain Phasma. Really, really great team, and you should be using them right now in dark side territory battles. And then you also have Night Sisters, and you have 5 of them 7 stars, so this is going to work. I would try and get Zombie, just because Zombie makes either one of the teams, whether it be Asajj lead or Mother Talzin lead, pop. Like, because of the coming back to life, you know, bringing a new Zombie in place of the old Zombie, it really brings about a durability on this team where you can get away with less gear, provided you have Zombie. So the #1 priority for this team down the road would be to get Zombie. That would be the high priority. And then lastly, we did talk about Empire, and you could faction out an Empire team specific, but there were a lot of Sith that were mixed in with Empire, of course, because like Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine do both. But you could make an Empire team and a Sith team. You have enough to do Empire by themselves with like a Grand Moff Tarkin lead and your Royal Guard and TIE Fighter pilot, and then you could have like a Sith team that consists of these top 5. And it's really cool that you've got Darth Nihilus 7 stars. It's also cool you have Sith Assassin and Sith Trooper 7 stars. Sith Trooper might be able to bring about a little more durability to the team, but you would have to gear him up. But this team looks pretty sound as well. So Mol Liza, really good. You've got the beginnings of a Rancor team. You've got some basic light and dark side territory battle teams. Hopefully I've given you some focus on maybe some specific characters such as Captain Han Solo and the Resistance, getting them geared up, as well as on the dark side some of your bounty hunters and getting like Zombie for Night Sisters. But focus on light side first and then move to dark side next, just because it's progressive. You want to make sure that you don't spread yourself too thin. And for Rancor, obviously CLS and Han Solo will do it, but in the meantime you can work on easy to farm characters such as Tebow, Biston, Jin, Urso, and then, you know, focus on a couple other side characters as well. I hope this helps kind of focus you down on Rancor and territory battles. If you have any questions, you know how to contact me. Just hit me up, and as always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.